Do you recognize this? Do you recognize this? The answer to both of those was probably yes, because even if you haven't seen any of the Star Wars movies, ships like the Millennium Falcon and the X-Wing are just famous everywhere. Everyone knows them when they see them. But here's another question. Do you recognize this? Or this? Probably not. Certainly a lot less likely than knowing the Millennium Falcon or an X-Wing. That's why I'm making this list. We're going to count down the top 10 expanded universe vessels. Now, this list is mostly because there are a lot of really amazing ships that were not in a Star Wars movie, and I want to show them off to you guys. So we're going to count down the top 10 Star Wars expanded universe vessels, starting right now.
Number 10.
Coming in at number 10 is the TIE Defender, one of the most absolutely devastating fighter craft of the expanded universe. Compared to many of the TIEs that came before it, which were unshielded, didn't have hyperdrives, and were kind of weak and didn't have much firepower, it was a monster for rebels to have to deal with. TIE fighters would be destroyed, decimated by X-Wing squadrons, but the TIE Defender put up a really good fight. Such improvements are numerous over the TIE fighters, such as more laser cannons. It had 4 instead of 2, and its armament was even more impressive because it also boosted 2 ion cannons and 2 missile launchers, which could be configured to proton torpedoes, concussion missiles, even bombs and other armaments. It also sometimes boasted a small tractor beam that could be used to either mess with enemy fighters in combat or shift debris around after a battle was over. It also was even faster than a TIE fighter, using a new model of the twin ion engine. And as I mentioned, it had a hyperdrive and shields. It could go anywhere and do anything and take on any rebel fighter with a pretty good chance of success. The only downfall of the Defender was its cost. It cost almost as much as an entire squadron of regular TIE fighters. This meant that it was relegated to very advanced squadrons in the Empire. Still, rebels learned to fear it every time they saw it. The only reason it's not higher on the list is because it's not a specific ship that you can look at and say, hey, I know that ship. It's the TIE Defender. It's one of the most incredibly tough fighters in the Star Wars Expanded Universe, and it sits nice and at home in the number 10 spot on this list.
Number 9.
Number 9 on the list may surprise some of you. It is the Bezzie, a ship that many people wouldn't even know exists except for the series Legacy of the Force. This ship is actually made by the Mandalorians, if you can believe that. It's incredibly tough because the Mandalorians use their secretly designed metal, Beskar. They use it in their general body armor, and that's why Mandalorians are so damn tough to take down. The Bezzie is a really resilient fighter that perfectly encapsulates what Mandalorians are like. It has 4 blaster cannons, 2 customizable weapon mounts, and enough space for either one pilot to just go it alone, or he can have up to 2 more people on the craft with him. The ship hasn't really appeared very much, but I wanted to include it on the list because it is so unique. The Mandalorians really aren't known as shipbuilders or anything like that, and the fact that this fighter is ridiculously resilient makes it a huge threat to deal with. If it ever went into mass production, the galaxy would seriously have a shift in power, I can tell you that much. Now, I will say very quickly, the images you are looking at are by a guy named Drone. This ship has never been drawn officially, so these are the closest that anyone can really think based on the descriptions in the book, so all credit to him. Otherwise, the Bezzie is number 9 on the list because it's so damn tough.
Number 8.
Coming in at number 8 on this list is another ship that many people wouldn't even consider existed in the Star Wars universe, the Stealth X. Now, the New Republic introduced a number of new fighter craft after the movies. The E-Wing, the K-Wing, a lot of wings with a letter in front of them. But they always kept the X-Wing around. They tended to improve on the design, but there were a lot of modifications, but it was always the same basic ship, and the Stealth X is the epitome of that technology. Painted jet black and designed to be literally undetectable, it is one of the best stealth craft in the entire galaxy. Only problem is, you don't really have any sensors, so 9 out of 10 times they're flown by Jedi. Now, there has been one or two instances where other people have flown them, such as Wedge Antilles, but I think he can get away with it because he's such a damn good pilot. Again, I'm just going to say, this is an image created by Drone. This guy does great artwork, and he's one of the people who's drawn a lot of these ships that have never been drawn before. So all credit to him again. The Stealth X really isn't that remarkable compared to the regular X-Wing that was seen in the movies, but just the fact that it's a stealth ship is so interesting, and it really is used to great effect in the Legacy of the Force series when the Jedi fly them. It's used great in other places too, but it's really just an awesome ship in my opinion, and totally worthy of being number 8 on this list.
Number 7.
Get ready, folks, we've left the mass-produced ships behind because coming in at number 7 is the Leviathan, Darth Malak's flagship from the Jedi Civil War. Part of the reason why I picked the Leviathan is partially because, look at it. It looks threatening, doesn't it? It looks like a dark, evil ship. It really is even more terrifying than a Star Destroyer, even though, in actuality, it's smaller and much worse armed. It only carries about 20 quad laser cannons, some turbo lasers, ion cannons, tractor beam generators, and it does have interdictor well generators to yank ships out of hyperspace. Still, it's really not much compared to a Star Destroyer in armament and size, but it just feels so threatening, especially being the flagship of Darth Malak. Other than that, there's really not much to say about it. The Leviathan's a scary ship, and one of the most impressive, especially when you encounter it in KOTOR. It's a very recognizable ship, it's got a cool design, and I think it deserves to be number 7 on this list.
Number 6.
Okay, guys, this one is cheating just a little bit, but I honestly think the Scimitar, aka the Sith Infiltrator, deserves to be number 6 on this list. It did appear in Episode 1, but what did it even do? You saw Darth Maul's ship fly around twice and he got out of it once. I think that's not giving it the credit it deserves, and it is an incredible ship. In an age where the only real good cloaking technology relies on a material called Stygian crystals, somehow Darth Sidious, aka the Emperor, managed to get enough crystals to give the Scimitar stealth technology. That in alone is awesome, but it boasted a really powerful pair of blasters, a pair of missile launchers. It was just a monstrously fast ship. Basically, the predecessor to the TIE Fighter. It was incredibly fast and had its own hyperdrive and could go anywhere and do anything Darth Maul needed it to do. It had a torture room on board, it had tracking drones, it had everything a Sith Lord, aka Sith Assassin, would need. So, even though it did appear in the movies, that's the only reason I'm knocking it down a little bit, but it is still a really incredible ship. Number 6 goes to the Scimitar.
Number 5.
Number 5 on the list goes to a ship that many would say almost recognizes a ship that I called out in the beginning as not being on the list, the Outrider, aka the Millennium Falcon number 2. Flown by Dash Rendar, imagine a pilot who is Han Solo who doesn't fall in love with a princess and stays as a smuggler for the rest of his life. That's who he is. He flies a ship similar to Han Solo as well, also developed by Corellian Engineering Corporation. It is the YT-2400. It has the same disc shape as the Millennium Falcon, although it does have a slightly smaller disc in exchange for 2 pylons that go out to the cockpit and escape pod. Overall, a simple design, but really quite good. The Dash Render held that the ship was almost as powerful as the Millennium Falcon, having dual laser cannons instead of quad, but still having missile launchers. Not much else to say. The ship is basically the Millennium Falcon Light, and that's why it's number 5 on the list.
Number 4.
If you will, do me a favor for a second. Imagine you are this man, Prince Shizor. At the time of the Empire's highest point, you are the 3rd most powerful man in the galaxy and the most powerful non-Force user. You run Black Sun, the largest criminal organization basically to ever appear in the galaxy. What do you do for your personal starcraft? Well, You go to the Mandalorians, who craft some of the most deadly weapons ever, and tell them to make the most powerful starfighter they can design. The result is the Virago, a monster of a fighter that is suitably worthy of Prince Xizor. Incredibly fast, even faster than the TIE Interceptor on a good day. It was designed to be super flexible. It has an S-foil system similar to the X-Wing, where these two wings on each side could fold up, and when expanded, they had jets on the end that could basically turn the ship into a flipping, flying around monster that was impossible to hit and could still dish out a ton of punishment. Armed with 2 heavy laser cannons and 2 proton torpedo launchers, it could dish out about as much damage as an X-Wing could on a bad day. It was, like I said, incredibly fast, had a very fast hyperdrive, and was just all around a beast of a fighter craft. After Prince Xizor's death, it was put into mass production on a slightly weaker model, but it never really caught on and only really appeared in the game Star Wars Empire War Force of Corruption. But still, the fighter is a beast, and it totally deserves to be Prince Xizor's personal craft, just the same as it deserves to be number 4 on this list.
Number 3.
Sometimes it pays to be the wife of the Jedi Grand Master. Say hello to the Jade Shadow, personal craft of Mara Jade Skywalker, wife of Luke Skywalker. This is probably the most powerful yacht ever seen in Star Wars, and if it's not, it certainly has a run for the title. Featuring a hyperdrive personally tuned by Han Solo to be basically as fast as the Millennium Falcon, an incredibly fast base engine speed also tweaked by Han, super high powered shields, and a ton of little devices like a sensor jammer, false IDs, sensor decoys, a super tough armor coating, and a ton of weapons. Retractable turrets with super fast blaster fire rates, other retractable blaster cannons, concealed missile launchers, a tractor beam protector, a small starfighter tucked away, and you have the perfect craft to carry 2 of the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy around the galaxy. There's not much else to say. The Jade Shadow perfectly matches Mara Jade Skywalker. It's not very assuming on the outside, which is exactly what she cultivated during her time as the Emperor's Hand, but underneath it is incredibly deadly and ready to destroy you at the drop of a hat. The Jade Shadow, everyone. Number 3 on this list.
Number 2.
Come on, anyone who knows anything about the expanded universe knew this was going to be on the list. But you might have expected it to be at number 1. Still, the Ebon Hawk, star of the KOTOR games, is one of the most awesome ships in the galaxy. You get the chance to fly your own Millennium Falcon. It looks cool with the copper and white paint job. It's a very tough little ship, surviving massive battles time and time again, and being put back into shape and just raring to go again. At the time, one of the fastest hard drives in the galaxy, fastest engine speeds, pair of heavy blaster cannons on top and bottom. It was a deadly little ship that carried Revan, the Exile, and who knows who else around the galaxy, saving it time and time again. The Ebon Hawk is an awesome little ship and is really deserving of being number 2 on this list.
Number 1.
What do you get when you turn the Death Star into a starship? You get something along the lines of the Eclipse class Superstar Destroyer. A monster of a ship designed before the Emperor's death and not completed until his resurrection 6 years after the Battle of Yavin. The Eclipse 1 and the Eclipse 2 were thankfully destroyed thanks to the heroes of the New Republic, but that doesn't change the fact that they will forever be the most impressive starship in the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Fast engines for a ship as gigantic as this, enhanced hyperdrives to get it anywhere in the galaxy as fast as the Emperor wanted it to get there, terrifying jet black Durasteel paint over the entire 17 kilometers of ship. A super laser capable of cracking the crust of any planet it chose. 550 laser cannons, 500 turbo lasers, 10 gravity well projectors, enough to take an entire fleet out of hyperspace, 100 tractor beams, 75 ion cannons, over 50 squadrons of fighters, 100 AT-ATs, 5 prefabricated bases, a legion of the Royal Guard, and more stormtroopers and crew members than you could count on anything other than the Death Stars. The Eclipse literally was the greatest embodiment of the Emperor's power after the destruction of the Death Stars, and was probably even more terrifying. Like I said, they were thankfully both destroyed, thanks to Luke and Leia Skywalker. But still, the legacy of the Eclipse will last forever as the most impressive starship ever designed for the Star Wars Expanded Universe.